What's up, guys? Marco Flores here with Nerd in the Bay, and today we're going to talk about the Dawn of X comics lineup. If you didn't know, the X-Men, Marvel's X-Men, they kind of did like a soft reboot in a sense, where they made a Paradise Island. Mutants are all united and together. They're kind of separated from the real world in a sense, from the Avengers, Defenders, the rest of that superhero. So they're in their Paradise Island. They're kind of, you know, keeping their distance away from everything that's going on, but they're trying to make their stances like, yeah, we're happy now. We're happy to assist, the planet Earth, but don't mess with us because you keep messing with us, right? So all the mutants are united in that sense, and even the villains are, in this island. You're going to see Apocalypse. You're going to see Black Tom. You're going to see a lot of villainous, mutants in this lineup. So what we're going to be doing in this video is talk about the number ones. So the comics that came out, like number ones of the Dawn of X series. So like you're talking about the X-Men, you're talking about New Mutants, you're talking about Excalibur, you're talking about X-Force, New Mutants. Okay, Fallen Angels, I believe is another one. If I missed another one, I'll probably add like a text saying which the comic I did not mention. But we're going to talk about the number ones, and also not only you're going to hear my thoughts, but you're going to hear some thoughts of some of my friends that I was able to get recorded audio regarding their thoughts and feelings regarding X-Men number one. I wasn't able to get their thoughts and feelings on the rest of the lineup, but as we progress and do the number twos and threes and fours, you get the idea that what we're going to be doing for this kind of video series is get like kind of like a mini podcast in a sense. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk about Fallen Angels, since that's the most recent number one that came out at the time of this video. So Fallen Angels, it was kind of a little bit of a miss for me personally. Nerd in the Bay, Marco Flores. It's kind of a little bit of a miss for me because in this issue, it's kind of like spoiler alert if you haven't read it yet. But the humans are talking about like they kind of found like a new god, and Psylocke is kind of getting like a premonition of like you got to take this quote unquote god out of the picture. So now you have Psylocke kind of getting like a ragtag team out of the Paradise Island of Krakoa and trying to find out what's going on. And there's like this techno drug that's going on as well. It's kind of a little bit all over the place. So like with Fallen Angels, like I said, it was kind of a miss, but I'm still willing to give it a chance because they're on the number ones, and maybe it'll get better as we progress along. Because it's Hickman at the head of this X-Men ship. So there's going to be a lot of callbacks to either to things in the past, or just he's reaching for something that he's trying to get to a destination, and you're just not seeing what it is yet. But so Fallen Angels for me is kind of, this number one is a miss for me. I am curious what they're planning to do with like either expanding the lineup, because there's only like 3 of them right now: Psylocke, Cable, and X-23. So yeah, like we'll wait and see, but number one was a miss for me. So the next comic I'm going to talk about is X-Force, since that was the next one that was kind of the most recent too. So X-Force kind of starts of a human like secret society council, because you see them all with masks, and they said they want like a blood, proclamation sort of thing, like declaration, and Domino is kind of infiltrating like what's going on. So X-Force is kind of the defense of the Paradise Island of Krakoa, just trying to take out any sort of threats from the island, and protect the mutant race basically. So you have people like Domino, you have Jean Grey, you have Beast, I believe you see Forge, you see Colossus doing the thing, Wolverine. I think you'll eventually see Quentin Quire there as well. So yeah, X-Force is kind of like the more protective of the mutant state of everything. So I do like, it has Colossus in it, and my favorite character is Colossus. So it has Colossus showing some shine, doing what he needs to do, protecting any new mutants that are that have yet to get to Krakoa. But he's gathering, those mutants that may have not known that there's a Paradise Island for the mutant race, or the humans are trying to prevent them from going to Krakoa. So you had that going as well. So I do like that it's a more protective of the state, more of like, what's going on. Where even though we're in this Paradise Island, um, we still need to make sure we're sharp on our toes, and and stay sharp, basically. Like, Wolverine talking to Beast about something, about like, we're getting too comfortable and something's going to happen. And in this first issue, something actually did happen, and it's kind of a nuts end panel if you haven't read X-Force. But take a look at it, and let me know what you guys think, because it's like, okay, so where do you go from there? And then if you saw the second cover of X-Force 2, you get an idea where is it going. But it's like, if the party's over, then like, what do we do next? So yeah, you have that going on right now. And then and Fallen Angels kind of continues off from where X-Force left off too. So it's cool that you get to see some continuity there, right? So X-Force for me, I'm a little biased because Colossus is in there, and then anytime I get to see him shine, I'm gonna like, yes, more Colossus, please. So I'm really for X-Force. I'm looking forward to issue number 2, and looking to see what they plan to do with it. All right, so next up is New Mutants. New Mutants is the old gang of New Mutants. I don't ask me to name them all right now, because I grew up in the 80s, but like I didn't connect with the New Mutants. That, as weird as that sounds. So it has the old gang minus one, but in this first issue, they are discussing to bringing this person back into the fold of the old team. But this person is in space right now with his wife, and possibly I think there's a baby there too. So we're trying to see what's going on with that. So New Mutants, yeah, like I said, all the gang's back together again. Rain, I think Wolfsbane is like enjoying the peace of everything, because the last thing where you left off was getting beat down to death on Uncanny X-Men in the Rosenberg run. So sucky way to go out, but what a way to come back in. And this will tie into if you haven't read like the Powers of X, or House of X, like how Wolfsbane has returned, and all these other mutants that you see just roaming around where you thought they're dead. There's a process to it, and again, it's a spoiler type of thing. So if you haven't read Powers or House of X, I recommend you do that first before you get into the new lineup of X-Men comics. So yeah, I think this New Mutants was like a fun adventure, at least a fun start, because there's a little bit of a hijinks, a little bit of like sarcasm going back and forth, the throwing jabs at each other, and then they start off their adventure, and it's kind of in a scenario that I never thought I would see the New Mutants, like, because usually New Mutants I would see them grounded, either talking about like cleaning up messes, or just trying to find their place in this world of superheroes and villains and all that stuff. So it was cool to get to see them interact with the Starjammers, and with Cyclops' dad Corsair and the rest of the gang of the Starjammers. It's cool to see them interacting with each other, but then again, some hijinks ensues, and they get left behind. Basically, the New Mutants get left behind. So now the New Mutants are going to be in number 2. They're going to work their way to find their friend that is in space right now. So I'm excited to see what they're gonna do next in number 2, in issue 2, because like again, I didn't grow up with them, but I'm rooting for them. They're the mutants that kind of, a lot of them I feel like they don't get either their time to shine, but except for like Sunspot and see me having to name names, and the time that I'm trying to record this, like, okay, I'm not remembering them, but like Magic has her time to shine. Like, she always has shine on her. And then you have Wolfsbane, just trying to get back into the swing of things. You have Mirage. You have Warlock. Am I getting that right? Warlock, Doug Ramsey. I might have gotten those two mixed up, but yeah, you have and then you have newer characters like Mondo, like joining into the fold, that stuff like that. But I'm enjoying what I'm seeing. It looks like a fun ride. Sunspot, I do like Sunspot kind of being like the brash, not he's sure of himself, because before Sunspot used to be like super cocky because he had the power of like like either the sun or something like that. But I'm enjoying this ride. I do New Mutants is more of a plus on my side. I do like what I see. That's what's going on with the comic book. So definitely New Mutants I would recommend to take a look at as well. All right, next up is Excalibur. Excalibur. So Excalibur is a unique take because while we're trying to still get to know what these teams, quote unquote teams, place in this Paradise Island as well as the world, you have, you have fan favorites like Gambit, Rogue. You have who else do you have? You have Jubilee. You have who else? You have Apocalypse. Yeah, as weird as that sounds, Apocalypse on a team with the superheroes. It's weird that way, but you do have them on a team together. You have Richter, I believe. You have who else? Maybe Jamie Braddock. If you read Excalibur #1, you see how he returns. And a kind of a down thing, like the sucky thing about it for me is my new favorite character of the more recent mutants is Gold Balls. But in this issue, they have him rename him as Egg. Like, man, no, Gold Balls is so good. As the name was a joke in itself, and as much as Fabio didn't want that name at first, then eventually like just embracing that, and then just whenever he just does his thing using his powers, he's like Gold Balls, and then all the balls will just shoot out of him, right. So I'm kind of disappointed that they changed his name to Egg, because of the process of what the thing is coming out of Fabio are eggs, and that stems from the resurrection process from, I believe, House of X. I believe they explained that in House of X, or Powers, but it's one of those two. So yeah. Where was I going with this? So yeah, so it's a different take on the mutant lineup, right? Because usually when you talk about X-Men, it's talking about mutant, like the mutant race being superior. You're talking about like prejudice, being prejudiced from humans, that sort of thing, and stuff like that. Here you're talking about magic, kind of more the realm of what Captain Britain is basically more on the realm of magic. But now you have people like, again, Apocalypse, that has been alive longer than most of those mutants. You're talking about Rogue and Gambit, who are not familiar much about the magic side, but they're on this team. And Jubilee, who's usually as joked as like the kid character, but she has like a baby now, so like so she has her time to step up, basically, from what I see of Jubilee. Because usually when I see Jubilee, I kind of type her as still the kid character, even though like they're older now, and they've kind of matured since the last time I saw them, basically, like the X-Men cartoon sort of thing, or the old 90s X-Men. So yeah, you see those characters. Richter, I think Richter did Richter pop up? I'm trying to remember. I don't remember right now, but yeah, you have characters like Richter, in the fold as well. But again, you have Apocalypse, who's overbearing or like just over the top, trying to just trying to do good, and that's weird to see. But it makes it interesting, and kind of catches your eyes, like, oh well, I think Apocalypse is gonna turn at some point, but you're like, well, let's wait and see what he does. Maybe he actually doesn't turn. If you're thinking he won't ever turn, that's probably not the best idea, because it's Apocalypse. He's willing to do what it takes to make the mutants, or at least what he deems is worthy, as survival of the fittest. But yeah, you have Captain Britain, as you see at the end of the first issue. You have who's Betsy Braddock. So yeah, it's interesting to see what they're gonna do with Excalibur, because it's gonna be more on like the kind of obscure side of the the Marvel and X-Men side of things. It kind of falls in the realm of like Doctor Strange in a sense. Maybe Doctor Strange will show up just to just a guest or just to do something about magic. So yeah, Excalibur, like it's curious. I'm curious about it. It's I'll give it a plus on based on my curiosity of the book on the book's basis. So yeah, that's New Mutants.